there Ninja! Welcome back to my channel. This is Rhea once again, and in today's video, we are going to tackle one of the things that you always ask me, which is how to understand fast-talking customers and what to do when you cannot understand these customers. So keep watching. It's so crazy because I forgot to plug my mic, so I'm not sure what the audio will be, but I have already talked for the last 10 minutes, so let's continue this. So, understandably, you will have a hard time to understand Native Americans sometimes because the way they speak is very different from how we speak as Filipinos, or if you have a different language. But there is nothing that we can do about that anymore, so we will have to look for ways to overcome this challenge, which is to do some things to make sure that we at least understand the customers who are talking too fast for our liking. So the first tip that I can provide is to chill and focus. I always say this because when you chill and focus, you will more likely to understand what the customer is saying because your mind is already in there. You are following what the customer says. Whereas if you just panic, when you hear the customer talk so fast, then you will more likely to not understand what the customer will tell you. You will just be anxious and you will just be stressed thinking of how you will be able to understand that customer. So in the beginning of the call, just chill, relax, focus on what the customer is saying, and listen. Let me tell you a short story about one of my trainees before. When he was taking calls, he could not understand what the customer was saying because perhaps the customer was talking too fast. So what he did was, while he was taking calls, he at one point gave me his headset, and that's because he did not know what to do anymore. And I was shocked because he gave me the headset while he was taking calls, and that's not supposed to happen. But I think he was really just so nervous that he did that. So I asked him to just take the call and ask the customer one step at a time or one question at a time, and I returned the headset back to him. I know there will be bloopers like that, but it's normal when you are still starting. Number 2, stop multitasking. I know multitasking is such a huge help, but you know what? Sometimes you really just have to let loose and, listen and focus first instead of doing all the things at the same time. So our immediate response when we take a call is to hold our mouse, look at our screen, navigate, while at the same time listening to the customer. At some point, that will not help you anymore because when the customer talks so fast and you're also focusing on what's happening on your screen, you're navigating, then you will not be able to get what the customer is saying because you're too preoccupied doing whatever it is that you're doing on the screen. So I suggest for the first few seconds of the call, just listen, hold your mouse, and prepare your notepad because you will need to input or type in any important keywords that the customer will say. But do not do anything just yet. Don't navigate on your screen or do whatever. Just listen first and stop multitasking for once. Tip number 3 is to take notes. This is in relation to tip number 2. This is probably the only thing that I will recommend for you to do while you are listening to your customer. And this in itself is already a skill. So while you are listening to a fast-talking customer, make sure that you have your notepad ready because once the customer says something that you understood, then you will type it quickly on your notepad. Just write anything that you have heard from the customer, even though you barely understood what the customer just said. So let's just say you did not get the context of what the customer is saying, but you heard that he said, I lost my debit card, or I have fees on my account. Even though you don't understand the whole story yet, just type it on your notepad. Customer lost debit card. Customer has fees on the account. Because those notes will help you eventually, or after you have listened to the customer. Trust me, it will help you later on. Remember that your brain can only remember so much. So you cannot really rely on your brain all the time. You always have to have the notepad available on your screen. Tip number 4, avoid preconceived notions. So what I mean by this is that you have to be open-minded in every call. Do not think ahead of yourself and maybe think something like, I hope this is not a long call. I hope this is not a difficult call. Because when the customer is talking too fast, you need all the time in your call, every single second or minute, to really listen to what the customer is saying. But when you already have a preconceived notion, or you're already thinking, I hope this is not a long call, and any other problems, you are only creating a problem in your head that may actually not be related to the customer's problem at all. So in the end, then you will not be able to understand what the customer is saying, and before you know it, the customer has already told you the concern and you did not get anything at all. Tip number 5 is to ask questions from your customer. So let's just say the customer talks too fast. You already have notes in your notepad, but you don't really know exactly what the concern is. Then it's time to piece everything together, connect the dots so that you will know what the customer's concern is, despite the fact that he or she talks too fast. So I have a couple of questions here that I have prepared. Of course, you will just have a bunch of keywords and phrases at first, and that is your starting point. That is where you will look to rephrase or ask the customer a question so that you will understand what the concern is eventually. So let me provide you some of the sample questions that I have. Example, customer said, I'm calling because I'm traveling tomorrow, but it looks like I can't see my flight details online, not even in my app. I'm very worried because it's tomorrow and I don't want to mess up anything. So that's too fast, right? Now, on your notes, you might have written traveling tomorrow, can't see flight details, worried, mess up. So you can ask the customer something like, I understand you mentioned you are traveling tomorrow and that you cannot see your flight details. Did I get it right? So by asking, did I get it right, you are trying to ask the customer for confirmation if you indeed got the concern right. You can also say, I understand you mentioned you are traveling tomorrow and that you cannot see your flight details. Did I understand it correctly? So that's usually what I ask the customer, and it does not look like or sound like you did not listen at all, because you already have the initial details, which are the customer's traveling tomorrow and that the customer cannot see the flight details. You're just trying to piece everything together. So by asking this, you are narrowing down the answer to either yes or no. You are clarifying by paraphrasing. And that means you have an idea of what the issue is, but you need to make sure that you are right. Now, if the customer says yes, then rejoice, because you now know what the concern is. So then you know what to ask next and you know how to move from there. But if the customer says no, then most likely he or she will repeat the concern to you. So for example, you ask, did I get it right or did I understand it correctly? And if the customer thinks that you did not understand him or her correctly, the customer will eventually say, no, actually what happened was this. Or the customer will just repeat the concern or the scenario. Some customers will even realize that he or she is talking too fast, so maybe the customer will paraphrase the concern for you. Again, we are just hoping here. We're not saying that the customer will be very glad to repeat the concern, but at least we're doing something so that you can understand that fast-talking customer, right? If the customer says no and then did not give further explanation, there's really nothing you can do but to ask politely and ask again. So you can say something like, I'm really sorry if I did not get it right. Can you please repeat your concern, Mr. Jones? Or you can say something like, I apologize if we're not on the same page, Mr. Jones. I really want to assist you today. May I have your concern again? So you are not putting the blame to Mr. Jones or to the customer. Don't say something like, I can't understand you, or I'm sorry, you're talking too fast. After all, asking politely is much better than pretending to know the concern of the customer. Tip number 6, make your line of questioning or line of statement positive. And again, as I mentioned earlier, not blaming the customer. So instead of saying, you're talking too fast, or can you please slow down? Instead of saying those lines, you can say something like, I'm really sorry, Mr. Jones, but that was a bit too fast, and I just want to make sure I understood correctly. Can you please say it a little bit slower this time? So this way, you are telling your customer that he is talking too fast, but you are polite in letting the customer know to slow down. And obviously, it will help you make the call better, and it will help you understand the customer better as well. Now, in case the pace is not your concern, let's just say the pace of the customer is just normal. You can't keep up, but you cannot understand the thick accent. Then please do not put the blame on your customer, because it's not his fault that he has that kind of accent. And who knows, he might also not understand your accent. So we never really know. We just have to be more understanding and follow the tips that I've mentioned earlier. Ask again politely and get down to the bottom of it all. For sure, it's gonna be a long call, but what can we do? It's part of our job, right? And tip number 7 is to look for clues in your customer's account. Sometimes when you receive a call from the customer, there are systems wherein the screen will show the customer's information right away, or you call it like a screen pop-up. So even though the customer did not tell you anything yet, you will already see the information on your screen because of the kind of telephonic system that you're using in your company. And when that happens, feel free to look for clues on the customer's account. Is there a documentation left by the previous agent? Is there an alert on the account that tells you something about an issue on the customer's profile or whatnot, or anything that you can find on the customer's profile or account? So look for footprints that will lead you to the resolution. I hope I really made sense in this video. Those are actually the things that I did, or that I would do in case I encounter a customer who talks too fast. And as usual, if you like this content, please don't forget to like, subscribe if you haven't yet, share it with the people who can benefit from this. And I always have videos every Tuesdays and Fridays, so see you again next time. Take care and bye.